Welcome to Constructive Conversations, Building Canada's Stories. I'm your host, George Affleck. Thanks for joining me as we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders and pioneers in the business. Today I'm joined by Heather Cruickshanks, the owner of Cruickshanks Sheet Metal, a company that started in the backyard of her home in Nova Scotia almost 40 years ago. Cruickshanks is a family-owned and run business that's become synonymous with custom HVAC and commercial air conditioning unit supply and installation in Halifax, with Heather at the helm. Let's start the conversation now. Heather, thanks so much for joining me today on Constructive Conversations. I know construction is something that's really, you're really passionate about, and as a business, it's really important, obviously. Can you tell me more about your personal journey, of where you are now and how you got where you are now?
Well, it's quite the story, actually. It would be approximately 37 years ago, we incorporated Cruickshanks Sheet Metal Limited. But prior to that, my husband, who is a sheet metal worker by trade, he decided to it was too much. The unions would go on strike. Everybody was unionized in Nova Scotia back then, not now, thankfully. So what he decided to start a little contracting company, and then that wasn't really, so they said, let's do sheet metal. So we started in our backyard, just doing changeover furnace jobs for Esso. And he hired an apprentice. And so they would work, whenever they could. And I remember it was like $325 for a change order, so we did this for a few years, but then realized we really couldn't get ahead. So we started to expand a little small commercial and things like that. And then we actually outgrew our backyard, but there was many loads of metal. Our driveway was very narrow, so I'd have to back the half-ton truck in, get the sheets of metal and haul them up the driveway where the brake and shear were and stuff like that. So it really was a family business.
Literally started from the garage kind of story, right?
Literally started from the garage. We started doing a little more work, bigger work. And so then, as we grew, we outgrew the premises. So we ended up going to Dartmouth into a questionable place, but it was a warehouse and there was more space and things like that. So that worked out well. By then, my daughter was in grade primary, and I think I spent half my life on the bridge going back between Halifax and Dartmouth. But anyway, we did that. And then we progressed into the bigger commercial, but still, unfortunately in our province, the open shop was always considered not to be able to do the bigger projects. And then in 1994, we had a Steen decision, and basically they, 3 judges decided that if you were union, you could only hire union.
Uh-huh.
Now, the problem is in a province where most of the general contractors were unionized and most of the sub-trades were open shop, that presented a problem. So bringing it back to my business, I'm not one to just sit there and say, okay, no, we're not going to do this. So we gathered a bunch of contractors at my daughter's school, and we decided to fight this.
Really?
And we did. And it took us a year of going around our province, a year of my life. You know what? I loved every minute of it. It was amazing. My education into doing this was being the president of the PTA in my daughter's school. So I figured if I could put up with the parents, I could put up with anything the union could throw at me. So, and that proved to be true. So we lobbied the government, and within a year, we were able to, much to the chagrin of the union, and actually if you go on the Merit website, you'll see where they stormed the legislature because of us, because the government was going to make a change to say, no, we're going back to union, open shop, and everybody can work for everybody as long as they don't have a collective agreement. So and it was amazing. I mean, I've never been called so many things. I couldn't even pronounce them or say them or spell them. But anyway, I used to get it all. I used to get people phoning, threatening. One guy actually called collect. you have to wonder the question. Yeah, okay. He called collect.
To
It
threaten you,
threatened me.
calling
Yeah, so
collect.
I accepted the charges because I really wanted to hear what he had to say.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
but I have to say, in growing the business, this was the best thing that ever happened because after we fought this battle, and I've got to say, the open shop came together. We went around in rural Nova Scotia and we took them on, like the politicians, and it was the local people that really made it happen because they stood up in front of their MLAs and say, "You're jeopardizing my livelihood." And that was the most powerful statement they could possibly make. So my job became much easier. And the good thing about being a female, it's really hard to punch a female out on camera. So I could probably get away with a few more things that a man would not be able to get away with.
Well, you certainly are a role model for anybody and for women, especially in the business. Because when I speak to owners across the country in the construction industry, getting women involved is sometimes challenging. It's one of the biggest challenges the industry has. So you're an inspiration on that front for sure. I'm surprised you're not the premier of the province now. Heck, after all that.
Some people have said I should get into politics, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure they'd be ready for me.
Oh, you
Um,
never know. You never
mm,
know.
but it was great. I mean, it really showed that as an open shop community, we could pull it all together. And the union wasn't used to that. I mean, they have deep pockets. At one point in time, we called ourselves the Right to Work. We had no idea this was a big anti-union movement in the States, and they were accusing us. And I said, "You get all the money from the other states." We had $193 in our bank account. Like, really? Are you kidding me? So,
Grassroots
grassroots then,
is
and
most.
there was a desk in the corner of my office, and that's
Yeah.
where we started Merit. And it was a lot of fun, I got to say. I found it fun because
Yeah.
it was
Okay.
like David
Maybe
and
the government
Goliath.
didn't. Yeah.
No, but the union didn't really understand. They couldn't understand how we could come together, number one, because we were always considered to be not at the same level, and how
Yep.
we could actually organize ourselves and get to the point to get in front of the government. And actually, honestly, it wasn't hard to look good. All I had to do was wait for them to rant for about 5 minutes, and then I just came off as a reasonable person. And, that's the way it was. But it did take pushing. Of course, the NDP was very much against this. So law
Hmm.
amendments, we had to go to. And I remember going into law amendments, and when I walked in, it was like I had the plague because the union guys all went over one side, and there was me. Because I always wanted to go by myself, because then I didn't have to worry about somebody thinking they had to defend me. But actually
Interesting.
leaving that meeting, it was great because it was a CBC cameraman that actually stepped in front of the union guy and said, "Okay, you know what?" And I was shocked because, to be quite honest, I built up a rapport with a lot of them, and
Hmm.
they're just guys doing their job. And so this union guy came right in my face and was kind of getting very close. And I'm crazy or not, I was never fearful from them because they just are. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go into that. What I
Yeah,
felt.
no. Well, to be threatened, but I mean, you touched on it from a business point of view. And you were early in the business at that point, and it certainly simultaneously seems to have transformed your business. And you saw
Absolutely.
exponential growth because of that. Is that because you learned how to manage people and all of that, and that helped you? Because you deal with a lot of contractors, you have a lot of people you
Absolutely.
work with. Their client base is quite diverse. So is that really a turning point for the business? And is that the main reason for that turning point?
I think part of it was also that we learned we could do. That we were not the small open shop company that, did the small work. And within 6 months, we had priced a project that was St. Mary's Science Building. For us, the mechanical was well over $5 million. The union was shocked. And I loved every minute of it, I must say. But, and we did the job, came in under budget and no
Yeah.
extras. And the university was quite happy with us. So it was actually, and that was the beginning of the open shop really surging in the province because we started to realize, you know what, we can do better. We can do exactly what the union can do and better
What a shock.
and faster and
Yeah.
efficiently.
No
Uh,
kidding. You
and
should
and
come to
I
BC. We need you here right now. I tell you, we got some challenges here in BC.
Yeah, You do, unfortunately. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And we only made that mistake once with their old Dexter, even a very nice man, just with the wrong party. Um, so we learned that lesson. And, we've been fortunate here. We've had a liberal government prior to our conservative government. Steve McNeil was excellent to walk the center line. He actually changed regulations so the unions could not unionize us on the weekends. So that was a big thing. Again, shocker. And you know what? Listen, I love poking the bear because they really don't know how to deal with me.
That's good.
But it did help grow my business because the mindset changed. We can do this. But then it kind of spread as well to other open shops, subcontractors, and contractors for that matter. We can do it. Absolutely, we can do it. Because so we took away the union job site. That doesn't exist anymore in this province. And it never will, as long as I have something to say about it.
Yeah, exactly. Just to make sure you leave the manual for somebody else to do what you did.
Yeah.
The business, you have so many service offering. You have a name for the company, but you're actually quite more diverse than that. Tell me a bit about how the company's evolved in that time as well since then, and how and what you're doing now, and some of the services, and how do you grow that business continually?
Well, you have to invest in your business. If you don't, and you just keep pulling any money out, you're not going to succeed. I've seen many people come and go over the last 37 years, and generally it's simply poor management or not investing in your company. So we went from leasing property to actually buying 2 acres of land on Kempt Road, put up a 6,000 square foot tilt-up building, and 2 years later put up another 6,000. And so from there, we had the space, we could grow. We bought a spiral machine to enhance the sheet metal business. And what we also started doing was value engineering, which was something that people really didn't do back in the day. Now it's a normal thing, but our company was really one of the first ones to take a set of plans designed by an engineer and say, the owner would generally come and say, well, we can't do this. Well, there is a way to do it, but this is what we have to do. So we would go to them and say, what's your wish list? What can you not do without? And what can you do without? And then build around that. Now, we didn't have engineering on staff. My husband was brilliant as far as being able to do the engineering and stuff, but we would still go to an engineer and get the blessings, and he would do the plans and things like that. So I can think of one long-term care facility that we saved them $480,000 just by redesigning it and actually making it better. We were the first ventilation company to actually allow for tempered air in long-term care facilities. Seniors do not like air conditioning. Bottom line, yes. They don't. But they need the dryness because they often have congestion and things like that. So I'll never forget it was Shannocks, and they said, we're going to do this. And so an engineer that we use quite a bit, we said, well, okay, let's try to think outside the box here. We actually offered to do that long-term care the way we wanted to do it. And if it didn't work, we would have redone it the way they wanted it.
Whoa, that's a commitment.
So it was a commitment. And now every long-term care in this province is done the way we did it.
Wow. It seems like there's a theme for you with your political bent there and your issues and the way you run your business, pragmatism. It's like you go to these people and say, what's the pragmatic solution that will not only save you money, but give you a better product at the end of the day? I mean, that's something that you think kind of flows through what you do. Is it in your genes?
I think it is. I think it is. And certainly my husband, Leo, that's the way he was too.
Right.
His hobby is building hovercrafts, so that should tell you from scratch. So, he has that engineering way, and he has a great customer relation type of thing, and he could think outside the box. And then for me, coming in from just being a bank teller and then doing the accounting and then doing the estimating, then doing the project management, I learned all that from him. And then by being on the site, and it was always funny, I'd show up on the site with a white hard hat, and the site would clear out because they'd think I was Department of Labor. Oh, women can be, mechanical contractor can't be a woman. It was kind of funny.
No.
No, it was funny.
Labor and staffing. I've heard a theme throughout my interviews through the last year and a half on the show, is the biggest challenge. Not only finding great people, but keeping them. What do you do about that as far as getting the talent, especially when you have, the clientele, the clients you have, the businesses you work with? What's your challenge? And it's not the hugest market to tap into. How do you deal with the labor shortages and keeping staff?
Well, our employees are our best asset. They're the front line, and you have to value them. So that means you have to treat them well. Now, that said, we do have economic barriers sometimes. We can't just give everything they want to do. But I think the fact that we were a small family business and they're still a family business, I have employees that have been here 28 years plus. So we've been able to keep them by having our benefits, by having, little things like paying for the work clothes, paying for the work boots, company trucks, things like that. It's not always necessarily the money in the pocket. It's the other things that really make a big difference for an employee, and feeling like they're part of a unit and not just a number in a hiring hall is another thing, because it gives them job security. And it is hard, but you have to do that. So you have to go that extra mile. You have to make sure employees feel valued and they have input. And that's what I did in the very beginning when I was learning still, the trade and things like that. And I would go to my employees on site and say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Now tell me what you think. So when you include them, then they are part of the unit. And I think that, and I know it sounds kind of hokey, but it actually is the case. Like if you're just a number, you don't feel valued. You have to have input. You have to listen. Listening is the key thing. If you don't listen and you only hear, you've made a mistake, because you have to listen.
Being a family sort of operation at the beginning, especially real grassroots kind of family, is that kind of continuity of what your beliefs were in the beginning, resonates even today with those staff, that this is a family. We're growing a family here, not just a business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my daughter works for me now. She's in human resource now. She's a lawyer by trade, but I don't keep that against her. I said, well, gee, I might actually get some value for what I paid for her. But, I have employees that she was a kid when she would come into this business.
Yeah.
And now she's working, they're not working for her, they're working together. And that's the difference. And it is about the family unit. It is about the small business. I'm not saying that it's always perfect, because you know what, even in families, they're not perfect. Things go sideways. What? I know, it's crazy.
What?
But why would I say that? But, it does feel good. And it feels good when, you have employees that leave and have nothing but good things to say. To me, that means we've done something right.
Yeah. 100%.
So
I think that's a great. I mean, and when they leave, you're sad, and it's like, but it's like they're moving on potentially to something better, and you kind of, you applaud them too. It's tough. I get it.
Yeah. I've had 4 former employees start their own businesses in sheet metal, and it was kind of funny. They buy material from us, there's spiral and stuff like that, and I gave them advice when they left. I said, you have to pay your employees and you have to pay Revenue Canada.
You didn't pull out the non-compete clause and say, I'm going to sue you.
Not at all. I figured that if they're successful, that means that we did it right.
Excellent. Your business continues to grow, and you talk about you have the public and private sector clients. So how do you continue to grow the business? They've heard about you early on when you were so high profile? That certainly might have helped a little bit. But as you continue to grow after so many years, what is it that keeps the company expanding and growing with the times?
I think
especially when your staff are opening up competition.
Yeah. And I mean, it is, again, it's back to the labor shortage. So we have to work within the confines of that. But I think that we're able to grow because we do think outside the box. And we're always up for a challenge. Like we've got a project that we're just tying together now that's way outside something we would normally do, but we did work for this company 6 years ago when they came down from Ontario, and they're based out of Ontario. And so they came to us and they said, we want you to do the project. So we're going to do the project.
Do the project.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But I think that it's good to do that because it challenges people. And, we do a lot of residential high rise, and that becomes monotonous. So we try to change it up all the time. And maybe somebody that's been on maybe 2 residential buildings in a row, give them a nice commercial project, because you don't want them to lose their skills. Because, as I said, they're your best assets. So you want to keep them going and vibrant. And I think that's the important part of it too. So that allows us to step a little bit outside the box and grow in other areas. And we have a lot more potential, but we have to work within the labor market, the force that's here. So
for sure.
If I had 20 more guys, it'd be great. But
yeah, no problem. And going back to what you said earlier about, investing in your business. Investing in your business is not just about financial. It's about training and learning different ways of doing things and evolving and all those different things and taking risk and pushing the boundaries and working outside your market, and all those things is about investing in your business. So what, the next 5 to 10 years, you mentioned your daughter's there now. Where do you see the business going over the next 5 to 10 years?
I can tell you it's extremely busy now, and it's just going to get, when I say worse, I mean that by saying there's going to be more pressures on companies.
Right.
We've turned more work away in the last 6 months than I ever would have imagined we would have to do. And
it's a painful thing for a business owner to do.
It's extremely painful because, you're picking your clients, your regular clients versus projects. But you have to do that because I always say I can tick you off now by not pricing this and doing the work, or I can do it 6 months down the road when I can't load up the site. So I'm trying to be honest with you. And most people accept that, but the growth is there. But we have to get more people into construction. We have to get more people. Like I sit on the apprenticeship board. Altogether, I think I've done 16 years. This is my last year. And I've always pushed getting people into the trades, but our barriers are educators, our parents, students, and us. Because you know what? We have to compete now. We have to compete against the universities, about the glamour jobs. We have to get
jobs.
We have to get parents to realize dirty doesn't mean dumb. Dirty means someday you can run your own company. That's what it means.
Yeah.
And educators, unfortunately, because they don't know the difference. So they're not. So the 90 plus student, the student that's getting 90, they never hear about construction. They get funneled right into university. They don't hear about it. Maybe that person could be a good tradesperson who would then takes accounting and then runs a company. So there's so many things that are holding us back from that growth. Nova Scotia is supposed to increase our population the next 10 years, something like 600,000 people. They're saying, like, we can't. I'm involved in a labor market survey right now, and I'm looking at it and saying, there's no way. Yeah. There is no way we're going to meet the need. No way.
A lot of British Columbians have moved to Nova
Ontario.
Scotia.
We just hired a guy from Ontario.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so don't be stealing away construction workers from other provinces. You might have a problem at the national meetings that you might attend. Heather, this has been great. I really appreciate you finding time today to speak with us on Constructive Conversations. Thanks very much.
Okay, you take care.
Thanks. I'm George Affleck. Thanks for joining me at Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories, where we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders, pioneers in the business.